And welcome to day 6 of competition at this beautiful Izu Velodrome for the track cycling program. When the games were held in Tokyo in 1964, the Hachochi Velodrome, there were only 5 events all told, and they were all for the men. After 5 days at Izu, we've seen 8 of the 12 medals decided in the track cycling program, 4 each in the men's and women's programs. The Netherlands have won 3 golds, Great Britain 2, Italy, Germany and China 1 each. We've seen world records aplenty in the men's and women's team pursuit and the women's team sprint. Today's program sees the men's Keirin taking place in its spiritual home for the first time. The women's sprint rounds continue, and the day's only medal will be decided in the longest event of the week, the Madison for the men. The thrilling 2-man team event is back on the Olympic roster for the first time since 2008 and is sure to deliver absolutely enthralling racing as they circulate this wonderful track. So it's all buzzing down the centre track, and we're about to get underway with the women's sprint. Last 8 finals, and plenty of firepower will be lining up very, very shortly for all these athletes. It's a long week for the sprinters. The men's and women's sprint events both take place over 3 days. Emma Heinze and Sophie Friedrich are 2 of the favourites in this event, and they'll be preparing for their event right there. The Netherlands have enjoyed a highly successful program here with 3 gold medals, including the men's sprint where they got the gold and silver medal. Harry Labraersen beating his good friend and compatriot Jeffrey Hoogland in the final. Rochelle Gilmore is alongside me once again. Rochelle, the sprints are upon us. It's a varied program today.
Yeah, very big program and a lot of tired legs as well. The women's sprint still got to go through a lot of rounds today before they get to the semis and the finals tomorrow. The men's Keirin is going to be super exciting, and then we finish off with the Madison, the men's Madison. So I'm pretty excited about today's program.
Now the sprinters have delivered great drama and excitement. The Keirin is, of course, back to its spiritual home. This is where it originated back in 1948. And there isn't a day that goes by somewhere in Japan where there's not a Keirin race taking place, a Keirin event taking place somewhere. And it is of fascination and interest to millions and millions of people. As is the women's sprint here, the start list for today's last 8 finals. Friedrich and Voinova. And it's Mitchell and Andrews, Heinze and Zhongchan Shi, Tilda Gross and Li Wai-ji. And Lauren Genet and Katie Marchant, and Elena Starikova takes on the champion of the Keirin, René Braspenix from the Netherlands. Fancy a cup of tea? Well, they've had their time, the Dutch male sprinters. They'll be in action, Harry Labraersen a little bit later on in the Keirin. So rolling up to the start for our first event of this day 6 at Izu's Velodrome. It's Sophie Friedrich, and she will be taking on Anastasia Voinova, the European champion. Friedrich is the world champion over the 500-meter time trial. Set a German record in the qualifying. Voinova, silver in the World Championships. This is going to be a very, very tight race. They roll off the start line for the day's first race. Sophie Friedrich of Germany and Anastasia Voinova of the Russian Olympic Committee.
Well, Voinova just sitting on the wheel of Friedrich. She really wants to push her to go long from the bottom of the track, so maybe not too many tactics involved at this point, early stages, as we just see Friedrich now looking behind at Voinova. It's going to be a very close race. All these sprint races are going to be super close. Voinova tries to wind up, pushing Friedrich long. Friedrich just keeping an eye on her, making sure she doesn't get jumped. But Voinova is just trying to get her to go long, push on the pedals early on.
The winners of these heats go through to the quarterfinals. The loser goes to a last stage repechage as they take the bell, and Friedrich's leading it out from the front. Voinova will have to come around on the back straight. She's working hard. It's going to be hard work though. Friedrich's holding her line very, very impressively, and the German looks as though she might take this as Voinova can't find a way through, and Sophie Friedrich holds up and takes an impressive win. The 21-year-old German and she's through to the quarterfinals. Too much firepower for Voinova, and look at the delight for Friedrich. She knows a defeat here, and you have to race one more race to get through to the medal rounds, whereas a clean win here, which is produced. She left the lane, and she was a comfortable winner in the end.
Yeah, she took the safe option there, Friedrich, from the front. She just wanted to keep winding it up, didn't want any tactics to come into play, and try and play that one safe.
Confirming Leah Sophie Friedrich's win in Heat 1. The women's sprint began on day 5, and they went through qualifying and a couple of rounds yesterday. A couple more rounds today before we get to the semi-finals and finals tomorrow. Kelsey Mitchell from Canada, the world record holder, 4th at the World Championships. The 27-year-old lost to Voinova at the World Championships. This is Elise Andrews, who at the age of 21 has won herself a Kieran silver medal. Away go Kelsey Mitchell and Elise Andrews, Canada and New Zealand in action now. Andrews, the 21-year-old who has really been a sensation here in the sprint events. Can she maintain that now?
Yeah, she's certainly been very impressive, the rider from New Zealand. Kelsey Mitchell, she's got super fast speed. Really hard race to call, but Elise Andrews is trying the tactic of just keep the pace high and just see who's got the most speed. Kelsey Mitchell, a lot of power, so she doesn't, the New Zealander doesn't want Mitchell to take control, but she has. So now Mitchell in front, takes control. Andrews high on the track, trying to wind it up, use the banking to come down. Can she get over the top of Kelsey Mitchell before the sprint proper? She does.
Just inside here is Elise Andrews from New Zealand. Mitchell's out of the saddle lot, driving on the back straight there. Andrews is holding on. She's just losing her line. Now she'll hold it firm and drive it home. Mitchell finishing fast, and she might have taken the win on the line. Ever so close, that.
Well, I think that might have been the closest race finish we've seen on the velodrome.
And Kelsey Mitchell takes it by the narrowest of margins.
Just in the throw of the bike. So this was a fantastic move by Andrews from New Zealand. She used the bank and came down in front of Kelsey Mitchell. And Kelsey Mitchell winding her in and only wins in the throw to the line we see here. Disappointment for Andrews. She was strong, she did everything right, but Kelsey Mitchell, she didn't give up the fight all the way to the finish line.
Yeah, she showed tremendous power on the last corner. Really powering through, Kelsey Mitchell, and that is why she is a rider with definite medal potential here. Not that Elise Andrews isn't, but Mitchell, she came up against a very informed rider in Kelsey Mitchell.
Yeah, Andrews only 21. So it's all about experience. She's won 2 junior world titles, but she has a long career ahead of her.
Absolutely. She'll come back, though, with the repechage round. Emma Heinze, the world champion, is up next. And she's up against Zhong Chanqi of China, the team sprint gold medalist from China and the 2016 world champion. Here they are, 2 world champions racing so early in the competition. That's the depth of the field here. Zhong Chanqi was 8th at the world championships, lost to Li Wanji. Away go Emma Heinze of Germany and Zhong Chanqi of China in Heat 3 of the last 8 finals of the women's sprint.
So Heinze from Germany, the rider riding confident from the back, high on the banking. Li Wanji in a interesting position there.
Heinze beat Bao Zhanzhu the previous round, the other half of the team sprint gold medal winning team.
Zhong Chanqi, sorry, from the front she rides it with Heinze. Very good tactic from the Chinese rider, Zhong Chanqi. And Heinze just trying to put pressure on her. She's coming high on the bank now. Cleanser, I don't think she's going to get there. It's a hard ask from where she is. She's gone straight past the Chinese rider, Zhang Zhanqi. Hines is going to take this one all the way to the finish line. Well, that demonstrates having the power on the day.
And the confidence, hasn't she? She's showing good form in Hines of the world champion. So another impressive win. Should be Charlie Dupree, Par Shan-Chu, and now Zhang Zhanqi. She's straight into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, so repechage for Hines. She won't be happy about that. And an extra ride. We see the replay and the death stare on the start line. Zhang Zhanqi takes a deep breath. And as the sprint started, the power of Hines coming around was absolutely amazing. She'll have to take so much confidence from that power. And as we said, these sprinters are now racing over 3 days and they have to back up time and time again. So it's about those riders who can really go the distance in terms of backing up and recovering well between sprints.
This is young Mathilde Gross, the French woman, and she's up next against Li Weiji, the 2019 world champion, bronze medalist in 2020. She actually beat Kelsey Mitchell on her way to the bronze medal at the world championships in that bronze medal race. And Gross, just 22, but got to this phase of the competition at the world championships where she lost to Lauren van Riesen, but did take the bronze medal at the world championships in 2019, the year that Li Weiji was the gold medalist. Hong Kong, China represented by Li Weiji. Mathilde Gross for France.
Well, they're giving themselves a little bit of a pep talk on the line. And it's Li Weiji of Hong Kong that takes to the front. It's Mathilde Gross from France. Well, the slow pace indicates that Li Weiji doesn't want to ride this from the front. She'd love to see Gross take over the lead. And that's why we see these very, very slow paces, trying to force the rider behind to take the lead.
Stark contrast to the tactics we saw, for example, in the Kelsey Mitchell and Les Andrews race.
Yeah, the last two races have been ridden very fast from the start. They have 3 laps, but Li Weiji now is trying to just put Mathilde Gross a little bit off her game.
There are occasions when they will stop dead in the track stand. They're like 30 seconds. Now they wind it up a little.
Well, you'll see Li Weiji back off now again, trying to pick up the speed and then put the brakes on. They don't have brakes on their bikes, but backpedaling is a brake. This is going to be close. Ooh. So Gross wants to get to the front and get into this. They're going to restart that race.
So the double shot of the starter's gun in the hands of Christian Magira, the starter, brings them back to the start.
Well, you saw Li Weiji. She comes down below the sprinter's lane, which forced Gross onto the infield. Quite dangerous move there. But the commissaires will be talking about whether there will be a relegation or a restart. So we'll bring you that news in just a moment.
Yeah, the judge referee David Menzies sits up above the track, overlooks everything else, but there's the commissaires panel down inside the track. They'll be discussing this and having a look. That is Mathilde Gross. And Li Weiji. So much psychological warfare going on out there in this sprint event. Here's another look, dropping down. Li Weiji was looking over her right shoulder. Gross dropped onto the apron.
Yeah, the apron being that flat part at the bottom of the track. We're going to see an immediate restart of this heat in the women's sprint 1/8 finals. So the winner will go through directly. It's a huge benefit, both mentally and physically, to be able to go straight through to the next round, the semi-finals, and not have to come through a repechage. It's extremely nerve-wracking being in a repechage because it's your last chance to stay in the competition.
So the start invites Raji to drop into the bars, and it's Matilda Gross now who will lead them out.
So Li Weiji from the back now, Matilda Gross at the front. They reverse positions when they restart. So Gross takes it from the lead, and the slow speed indicates they want to race this tactfully. They don't back themselves on pure speed like we saw in the last races. So trying to unsettle each other. Gross from France from the front, Li Weiji from Hong Kong behind. Just putting some pressure on the pedals there.
Well, this is the older generation 34, Li Weiji, the world champion from a couple of years ago, 22-year-old Matilda Gross from France.
She takes height on the bank, Li Weiji, but she comes down early onto the wheel of Gross. Matilda Gross from France leading it out. They've stayed outside the sprinter's lane.
He keeps looking over his shoulder. Li Weiji now will come off the bend with a bike length and out the saddle. She'll try and power past. She just nips out on the outside. She's going to have to work really hard to get past the French woman here. Li Weiji of Hong Kong, China's driving for the line, and she will just take it, I think.
Superb tactically, however, she made that little mistake coming off the wheel. She thought she underlapped it, but it didn't disrupt her too much. That's the face of Li Weiji, Matilda Gross of France. She'll have to go back through the repcharges. Here was that move with not a smooth transition off the wheel, but she really got on top of that gear fast. The beautiful pink shoes of Li Weiji of Hong Kong will go directly through.
So Li Weiji continues straight through to the quarterfinals after a tension-filled race. Matilda Gross, who goes to the repechage round. So Sophie Frederick, Kelsey Mitchell, Emma Heinz and Li Weiji through. Which of these two? Lorianne Jeanette and Katie Marchant. Well, the Canadian was the bronze medalist in the Kieran. Katie Marchant, a bronze medalist in the sprint in Rio.
The Canadians have been going very well as Jeanette just gets focused on the start line. She looks confident. Katie Marchant, focused face. 1 million different things going through the mind at this point. Some riders are able to just block everything out and go into a state of nothing mentally, but it can be a very confusing and frustrating time on the start line of a sprint. Viewers might not be aware that a lot of mental tactics come into sprint racing. So Katie Marchant takes the track high. She'll be backing her speed on those super fast new bikes that don't look traditional at all. It's something new that we've only seen for the first time here at the Olympic Games.
They are state-of-the-art machines Great Britain have here in all their disciplines. As Katie Marchant starts taking it up high.
Well, Jeanette from Canada hasn't done anything wrong tactically. Oh, and Katie Marchant gets her underneath and into the sprint lane. This is a good move from Katie Marchant. Very, very fast reactions. It's going to be super hard for Jeanette to come back. She's going to try. She comes off the wheel, but will she have the power to come over that very strong Katie Marchant of Great Britain?
Yeah, Marchant's going to bring it home. She had the line, a really, really good piece of tactical racing there by Katie Marchant. Dropping down, diving into the line and taking control of the race just before the bell.
And there's always a certain point in sprint racing where the race is won and lost. And for Katie Marchant, that move underneath to get into the sprinter's lane.
Elena Starikova, the European champion, the 25-year-old from Belarus, is 5th at the World Championships. Shanae Brespaniks has already had a great Olympics. She's a gold medalist in the Kieran.
Starikova from Ukraine having a lot of experience. Brespaniks already having that gold medal from the Tokyo Olympics in the Kieran. The Ukrainian Starikova, one of the few riders in sprint racing opting to wear clear lenses. It's not something you see often, but it does say a lot of confidence about the rider. Brespaniks has got the pure speed to beat Starikova in this race, but Starikova will use all of the tactics and experience that she has to try and outwit the super fast and strong Brespaniks.
Yeah, the Dutch really have brought a powerhouse team to Tokyo this year, and they're generating great reward for their efforts and their preparation. Brespaniks is going to have to work really hard here against the very, very strong Starikova.
Well, they've certainly got different builds. Starikova a lot smaller, brighter than Brespaniks. But she's playing good tactics here, just trying to keep Brespaniks on the fence, keep a wheel in front, and try to stay as high as she can so they both get the same advantage coming down off the banking. Brespaniks is being pushed hard on the top.
Take the bell, and it's nip and tuck here, nothing to choose between the two as Starikova drops down, but Brespaniks is showing great power. She's holding strong in the bend now. Can she execute when she comes into the straight? It's going to be so close, but in the end it is the Dutch woman who takes the win. Impressive.
Shanae Brespaniks was all about confidence and strength. Tactics didn't quite go her way. Superb tactics from the Ukrainian rider, Starikova, but Brespaniks, she brought it home with pure dominance in power and speed. She held her line, she's so solid on the bike, like we've seen in the men's sprinting. The Dutch are so strong